welcome to my book chat about The Immortals by Tamora Pierce. Now, the first part of this video will be a non-spoilers version, so everyone can watch. And the second part will be a spoilers version, so I'll tell you when to stop the video, when you should stop watching if you don't want to be spoiled. And now, on to the show! Now, I've experimented with co-hosts before, and none of them were very popular or interesting, but I've decided on the perfect co-host. What better co-host to talk about fictional books than the member of a fictional world himself? Please welcome Edward Cullen! Edward, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm hot.
Anything else?
No.
Right, okay. So, moving on. The Immortals Quartet by Tamora Pierce. Yes, Edward?
You smell nice.
Okay. On to the no spoilers review.
Every time you spoil a book, a vampire dies.
Now first, I did really like these books, but not as much as the other Tortall books. The reason is I felt the magic overwhelmed the books a little bit more than it does in a lot of the other series that she's written. It became more of a character by itself than it was simply part of the background or part of the story. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just something that I personally have less interest in than other people. So, if you like that kind of thing, then these would probably be your favorite books. They're not really, really different from the other Tortall books, but they're slightly different from the other Tortall books. So, people might either like them more or like them less, depending on their preferences. I, because of my preferences, ended up liking them just a little bit less. I still liked them though. I thought the characters were very compelling and the storyline was very interesting and easy to follow, save a couple points, usually related to the magic. But I did really enjoy reading them. And another reason though that I didn't like them as much as a lot of the other Tortall books is something that I was promised when I was reading it and did not get, which is the romance aspect. There is romance in these books, and I'll go more into that in the spoilers version. I won't talk about it in detail now, but it wasn't in the way I was expecting or hoping from what had been described to me. So, that was just my own personal feelings on it. But they're a good read, so I highly recommend them. What did you think, Edward?
I think my book was made into a movie.
Yes, Edward, your book was made into a movie. Good for you. On to the spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, stop the video. Have you stopped it? Are you gone? If you don't want to be spoiled? Okay. Only people left are the people who want to be spoiled. So, like I said, I felt the book was a little bit more focused on Dane's wild magic, but it was also sort of inevitable because you have to talk about that aspect of her character since it's been so important to her life. It's what has been controlling her life for such a long period of time. And I think that's an interesting theme, how powers and abilities can come to control you. But just because of the way the story had to be crafted around the magic, I was a little less into it because I felt that it took away from the human characters in the story. I felt that Dane and Numair and all of them got overshadowed by their magical powers and this realm of the gods and all of the Immortals' powers. So that was all of that was actually less interesting to me than what was happening with Dane and Numair's people. Which leads us to the romance aspect. I was promised romance in these books. And if you've read them, you know you don't actually get any romance in these books, at least any real romance in the books, until the last one. I was very annoyed by this. I mean, a little bit before then, in the third book, you get Dane being a little bit jealous of some girl Numaire's with, but not a lot. Not a lot. Just suddenly, it's like, oh, I love you, I must kiss you. And you can understand the setup to it. The setup does make sense. You have these two people together a lot of the time, and I could see where a romance would develop, but I never really felt the chemistry between the two of them.
I think you're wrong. I think two people can just see each other and know that they're both hot and they both love each other.
So that was always a problem in the books to me. I mean, I wanted there to be chemistry, but I never saw actual chemistry. Well, that's not true. I did see a little bit of chemistry, but I never felt like it was emphasized as much as I would have liked. So, that was my beef with the romance in these books. I did like that there was romance at the end, but even though I knew that that's where their relationship was headed, it still felt strangely out of the blue. So, that's how I felt about that, because the chemistry, I felt, hadn't been given a real chance to build up. Neither of them seemed as aware, at least Numair was aware of his love for her, but we never hear about that until the last book. And I suppose it's because it's from Dane's point of view, but still, it's a little bit out of the blue. But I still liked it. I liked Numair, I liked Dane. I just didn't like the series as much as the other ones. So, that's my feelings on that. What about you, Edward?
I think Dane and Numair should have gotten married at the end. I like weddings.
Okay, yes. Any other parting thoughts, Edward?
I like the Kraken. I think every good book should feature a giant squid. My book should have featured a giant squid.
Yes, well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching.